Everybody, thanks for coming. Just give us a couple of wee minutes. Just Richard's getting themselves sorted. Just running a wee bit late tonight. Appreciate you waiting. Okay, that should work. Hello, everybody. Eventually we got here. Thank you very much for all coming. Thank you all for being so patient. You all know what it's like in real life. Sometimes things happen. I don't know how you're late in a quarantine, but you know, Richard's here now. We're only a wee bit late. Richard, say hello to everybody, and yeah, fucking, you're useless. What are you doing?
Peace and respect to you all. Yes, I'm late. It is completely my fault. Blame Richard.
The one and only time.
Yeah, right. It never happened before. So surprising.
Everybody, thank you all for turning up. We've got Brainbug and Geo, and Jim's here, and we've got Chris, and I seen my honey mummy there earlier, and Junk Shop, and everybody's here. We got 11. Everybody's here. As
wow.
I said, thank you all for waiting. You know,
I know all those names. Which Jim? I know too many Jims. There's a Jim Hall. There's Jim Majors.
We have a Jim Majors in the house tonight.
Jim Majors. Hi, Jim Majors.
So, there we go. Right, we will not wait and hang about or anything like that. Richard, can you see the fucking PDF okay?
I suppose no one else can either. The screen's not shared.
Oh, no, everybody can see it except for you.
Okay, well that's interesting.
Yeah, sorry, hold on. There you go. Now you should see it.
All right. Well, let's jump in then, I guess. Where harlots stand about prettily, exuding voluptuousness, full of laughter, and on the couch of night the sheets are spread. Enkidu, you who do not know how to live, I will show you Gilgamesh, a man of extreme feelings. Look at him, gaze at his face. He is handsome youth, with freshness. His entire body exudes voluptuousness. He has mightier strength than you, without sleeping day or night. Wow, that's impressive. Enkidu, it is your wrong thoughts you must change. It is Gilgamesh whom Shamhat loves. And Anu, Enlil, and La have enlarged his mind, even before you came from the mountain. Gilgamesh in Uruk had dreams about you. Oh, he sees the future too.
Context. Did the boy beat him there yet? He did, right? Sorry. Just trying to find our place from where we were last night or last week.
Right on. Could you bring it back down where we just were? All right. That's almost enough.
Your sarcasm is wonderful, by the way.
No, I'm not being. It's just been a really weird day. I apologize for that. Okay. So we see feminine stretched out. That's a really common themes. He's prettier, handsomer. He can see the future.
He is the big cheese.
What's that?
He's the big cheese.
It's big cheese. If this is representative of the Spirit of God, as I think it is, Christians would say the Holy Spirit, something like that.
Did you not say that Jesus was Gilgamesh? Do we need to check the mad books, the mad scribblings?
No, I think that which way does it go? The two characters, one would be the Holy Spirit, the other one would be the new Jesus, and let's see. Gilgamesh. Okay, now I'm confused. Gilgamesh is out of the woods, or Gilgamesh is already in town?
Gilgamesh is already in town, being a bastard to everybody, and Enkidu is the one that grew up in the wilderness and has been brought in to sort of tame Gilgamesh, to bring him down. Okay, so
from the wilderness would be the new hero, and Gilgamesh already in town would be the old hero, or Holy Spirit, knowledge of God, etc., seeing the future and all that stuff. He's the bastard king, being an awful not nice to people. Well, people do look at God that way. That's not impossible. I think that's all I got on that.
Right. Okay. Moving
on down to Gilgamesh got up. Gilgamesh got up and revealed the dream, saying to his mother, Mother, I had a dream last night. Stars of the sky appeared, and some kind of meteorite of Anu fell next to me. I tried to lift it, but it was too mighty for me. I tried to turn it over, but I could not budge it. The land of Uruk was standing around it. The whole land had assembled about it. The populace was thronging around it. The men clustered about it and kissed its feet as if it were a little baby.
Meteorite his feet?
Yeah. I loved it and embraced it as a wife. I laid it down at your feet, and you made it complete with me.
Compete. Not complete, compete.
You're right, that does say compete with me. The mother of Gilgamesh, the wise, all-knowing, said to her lord,
Rimat
Ninsun, the wise, all-knowing, said to Gilgamesh. Wow, I didn't even know how to say that. As for the stars of the sky that appeared, and the meteorite of Anu which fell next to you, you tried to lift it, but was too mighty for you. You tried to turn it over, but you were unable to budge it. You laid it down at my feet, and I made it compete with you, and you loved and embraced it as a wife. There will come to you a mighty man, a comrade, who saves his friend. He is the mightiest in the land. He is the strongest. His strength is mighty as the meteorite of Anu. You loved him and embraced him as a wife. And it is he who will repeatedly save you. Your dream is good and propitious. A second time Gilgamesh said to us, before we move on, scrolling down a little bit if you would, sir.
That's just, in my opinion, this is a premonition dream, or led to be believed it's a premonition dream of Enkidu coming.
Of course it's not.
Yeah, it's Enkidu coming to get him. Enkidu is the meteorite.
Yes, I believe you're absolutely correct in that. And more than that, I think that this would be goddess, the high goddess, the highest goddess.
So Enkidu is now the goddess.
No. This is the mother revealing the dream.
The mother is interpreting the dream. Gilgamesh is the one who had the dream.
Right. So I would say that Rimat Ninsun would be the us with God's, let us make man in our image, the high goddess, his mother. So that would be Gilgamesh, the old hero, informed by his mother about the coming hero.
Yeah, that would make sense from all religious texts. It's a story. The old guy's been going to get replaced by the new one. Prophecies and being able to tell the future and chicken bones and all that sort of stuff. And let's look at some monkey brains. You know, this does not mean aliens.
Yes, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's more probable that people believe this sort of thing. It's not necessarily that it's true.
Mm-hmm. So I think the idea of taking as a wife or loving as a wife, embraced as a wife, is
to me
is
that's
to
intimacy.
say, you know,
that's intimacy.
Closer than your kin.
Yeah, that's being
close
intimate.
as close can be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Very intimate, very serious, very emotional. And
I think Enkidu does turn out to be his best friend in the end of this, do they not?
Well, of course, but they got to fight first.
Oh, of course, yes. That's how all men sort their problems and become good friends.
Well, it's Jacob that wrestles with the Spirit of God or the angel of God. And I think that's another of the same story, actually.
Yes, I know, but that's one guy, human, wrestling with the angel of God, and this is one guy who you think is Jesus wrestling with another guy who is this other thing. You know, the stories may be the same, but the interpretations is different every time.
I'm not sure I know what you mean by that.
You're using the representation of the wrestling and the fighting of Israel fighting with, or Jacob fighting with God, or whoever the hell it was, right? So that's Jacob, happening. Yeah. So that's one man fighting with one God, right?
Sure.
And then you've got an interpretation in this, which is one Jesus fighting with, who's Enkidu now? What's Enkidu the representation of? You know, I get that the story is the same because it's people fighting, because that story happens all the time. But
sure,
you're making one interpretation over here in the Christian story that makes it fit your and then you're making another interpretation on the same story, but it's a different interpretation. If it's supposed to be the same story across everywhere, it should be the same interpretation every time.
I think that leaves out the part that we're talking about a human being on the earth, where if you're born into innocence, and I think that's true, and a person grows up, and the hero always grows up before he becomes the hero, that you would be struggling with your materialism, the story of Cain and Abel. You'd be struggling with your materialism and your spirituality. You know, the what do they call that? Never mind what they call that. There's a technical term for that. But I think that's true in reality, that you wouldn't want a leader who grew up spoiled, right? So, and it's when John baptizes Christ that he becomes Christ. That's when God says, "Today I have begotten you." So there's a period of innocence and growth in what's normal, and then there's the enlightenment process and the struggle with that. And I think when you say that those aren't the same story, or I'm justifying them in separate ways, I think that's the part that you're leaving out, that we're talking about a person.
That's basically what I'm trying to say, is you're taking the
Okay.
You're saying that these stories exist across everywhere?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so if we take that, and that the story exists everywhere, then we would assume that the story has to be interpreted the same way.
Yes.
But the story is being interpreted in different ways. You know, from one Christian to the Gilgamesh, it's a different interpretation to make it fit.
Is Enkidu a man?
Is
Enkidu a man?
I asked you twice who Enkidu was.
Yeah, in this story, I believe he represents the hero, or Jesus.
No, you said that was Gilgamesh,
the
not
new
Enkidu.
hero.
You said that Gilgamesh was Jesus, not Enki, not Enkidu.
No, I said Gilgamesh is the old. He's already in the city.
I can check the notes. We wrote it down last week.
I did. I'm not saying right now I couldn't have said it backwards. These are new words.
Oh no, because I remember we wrote it down, and then something was referred to as heaven, and then we changed it, and you made sure that Gilgamesh was Jesus, and then that this other thing was heaven and God.
Well, I'm sure all of it isn't going to be straight until I've finished it.
Oh yes.
Not for me anyway.
I totally get where you're coming from, but the point I'm trying to make is these two particular points that we can make a reference point in the Sumerian story and the Christian story that is supposed to be the same across all of this, that, and the other, is a different interpretation to fit the same story.
Well, it is for a different people.
Yes, but you made the reference point of two people wrestling. You're like, oh, this is the same as Israel and
Jacob,
right,
yeah.
or Jacob and whatever it was. But your interpretation of that is different than your interpretation of this. So you can't say that they're the same if you're interpreting them different ways.
Okay, if I said it backward originally, I'll apologize. I said it backwards.
Well, you were very, very clear on it. Very clear. I don't think it was a mistake. That's why we went back and changed it and all. We went over it. But okay, you've explained. We shall move on then. I've made my point. You've made your point. We're good?
Yep, I think so.
Good. Second time Gilgamesh said to his mother, "Mother, I have another dream," and then we are here. Would you like to go on?
At the gate of my marital... Sorry, you were going to do it?
Go for it, man. Go for it.
At the gate of my marital chamber, there lay an axe, and people had collected about it. The land of Uruk was standing around it. The whole land was assembled about it. Now it's an axe. The whole land had assembled about it. The populace was thronging around it. I laid it down at your feet. I loved it and embraced it as a wife, and you made it compete with me. The mother of Gilgamesh, the wise, all-knowing, said to her son, Rimat-Ninsun, the wise, all-knowing, said to Gilgamesh, the axe that you saw is a man. You love him and embrace him, or embrace as a wife. But I have compete with you. That's a weird sentence. There will come to you a mighty man, a comrade who saves his friend. He is as mighty as the meteorite of Anu. Gilgamesh spoke to his mother, saying, by the command of Enlil, the great counselor, so may it to pass. May I have a friend and advisor may I have. You have interpreted for me the dreams about him. After the harlot recounted the dreams of Gilgamesh to Enkidu, the two of them made love. I think it's true that Christ rescues or classic saves people to God, and that those are two separate beings, and even reason for a lot of the weird laws, and especially the slavery laws in the Old Testament of the Bible, is talking about who they were saved by. Like, were they saved by God, the story in the Bible? Were they saved by Jesus, the occurrence in front of them? And I think that's what this is talking about here, is that Enkidu will complement, save, bring to.
So taking into context,
his brother Gilgamesh. What's that?
Gilgamesh was the one who was made by the gods, who was made to be perfect in every way.
Yes.
And Enkidu is the bit that was fucked off into the forest.
Right.
So Jesus now isn't the best. He's now the scrap that was left over and forgot about.
Okay, from what I can understand, we're talking about a repeating occurrence. Like in the next tablet on the next earth, called Enkidu here would be called Gilgamesh there. And there'd be a new Enkidu, a new hero. And it's a lineage thing. It's turning over constantly.
Oh, I get what you're saying, but it's just the context of in the story who these people are. If I was going to say who is Jesus, I would say Jesus is the perfect one, the smart one, the great one, made by the gods, sent by the gods.
Yeah, which Jesus though?
That's Gilgamesh.
Yeah, but Enkidu's the new Jesus.
So there's now two Jesuses fighting and going to hang about.
Well, one has to teach the other, and there's a struggle, etc., etc.
Well, you don't need to... all right. Okay. It's just the all right, fine, go on ahead. Tablet 2.
And Enkidu sits in front of her. I'll just read that. The next 30 lines are missing. Some of the fragmentary lines from 35 are restored from parallels in the Old Babylonian, but not found here. Why? His own counsel, at his instruction, who knows his heart? Shamhat pulled off her clothing and clothed him with one piece, while she clothed herself with a second. She took a hold of him as the gods do, and brought him to the hut of the shepherds. The shepherds gathered all about him. They marveled to themselves. How the youth resembles Gilgamesh, tall in structure, towering up to the battlements over the wall. Surely he was born in the mountains. His strength is as mighty as the meteorite of Anu. You see, now Gilgamesh has become born in the mountains as the meteorite. They placed food in front of him. They placed beer in front of him. Enkidu knew nothing about eating bread for food, and of drinking beer he had not been taught. The harlot spoke to Enkidu, saying, "Eat the food, Enkidu. It is the way one lives. Drink the beer, as is the custom of the land." Enkidu ate the food until he was sated. He drank the beer 7 jugs, and became expansive and sang with joy. He was elated, and his face glowed. He splashed his shaggy body with water, and rubbed himself with oil, and turned into a human. He put on some clothing and became like a warrior. He took up his weapon and chased lions so that the shepherds could eat. He routed the wolves and chased the lions. With Enkidu as their guard, the herders could lie down. A wakeful man, a singular youth. He was twice as tall. Yeah, I think that's far enough before we get too far ahead.
It's just being nice. Just Enkidu coming in, showing everybody he's being strong. They're all like, oh, look at this man from the mountains. He's wonderful. He's great. He's fantastic. And in your interpretation, the new Jesus.
Yes.
Right.
The great shepherd, the perfect example, but did not start out as a man. Start out as a wild thing, unrefined. So that'd be something akin to the 30 missing years of Jesus, something like that.
Well, just out of curiosity, later on when Enkidu dies, and in your interpretation, the old Jesus beats the new Jesus.
What do you mean by beats?
Well, Enkidu's the person who dies in this. And right now you're telling me he's the new Jesus that has to come in and replace the old Jesus.
Well, Jesus does die, yes.
Right. So you would assume that the old one who's being replaced dies.
Before that, probably not in this story.
Yes, but Enkidu and Gilgamesh end up as friends and Enkidu dies. Gilgamesh survives, being the old...
That's the way it should be, yes.
Right, so you have the old Jesus and the new Jesus. The new Jesus comes in to learn and take over and then loses and dies. And the old Jesus stays there.
Yes.
So what was the point of the new Jesus? He's not the new Jesus. He's just some guy that came in and got beat. He didn't do anything. He didn't.
Are you saying in this story that Enkidu won't be resurrected?
I know Enkidu dies. I've never read the story before.
Okay.
But I know that he dies. So I'm just wondering how this is going to end up with the new Jesus being beaten by the old Jesus.
Well, if I'm reading this right, what do you mean being beaten by the new? Not beaten by. It's struggling with spirituality does not defeat God. It defeats self.
Okay, well, if I said to you, right, that I am the old manager of this shop and you are the new manager of this shop, I would take you in, put you under my wing, and then I would fuck off after you've learned how to do it. What I wouldn't do is take you in, teach you everything, have you under my wing, and then sack you and stay in the job. That's what that's what I'm seeing here, man. You know?
I think I see your point.
Okay, under your interpretation, this is what I'm seeing.
So I think I see your point, and since what I believe is being described through all these stories is the hero becoming part of the collective hero that is older. That is to say, Christ becomes part of God.
Okay, so the older guy
that it would have to either directly resurrect Enkidu after he dies, or he becomes in some way one with Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh, as far as I can remember, just from what I know about, being in lore, is he then goes through like hell to go and find some guy to try and bring Enkidu back, and it ends up not happening, or he tries to get immortality, it doesn't happen, it's a failure. Okay, so the old one feels bad about getting rid of the new one and can't bring him back. This is the point I'm trying to make. That's why I wanted to slam down exactly who you thought was the new Jesus and the old Jesus, because the new one in this story dies.
Well, I'm saying right now, I'm seeing right now that Gilgamesh already in the city that is established, like the Bible would talk about God. And them wrestling is something like him wrestling with God, or the angel of God, or the story of Jacob. And that Enkidu is the new hero, and that he should be killed, but in some way he should be forever remembered, or he should be like physically raised from the dead, or he should be part of Gilgamesh, something like that.
Okay, we'll see how it goes. See how it goes as we go along. He was twice as tall as a normal man. And with your interpretation again on a physical description of someone, this means that Enkidu is an angel, or else he's a Nephilim, going by your previous readings.
I think that's a different people and a different expression, and I think here big just means important.
So why are we saying when it says here he's twice as tall, we just take it as important, but back in the Christian one when it says about their stature and their size, we take it as serious?
I don't see references from those people that received the Bible that it's not like the Egyptians where they said bigger is more important.
No, but I'm just asking why in the Gilgamesh one, when it makes a reference to their height, do we ignore it? And when it makes a reference to their height in the Christian one, we take it serious. Again, are we not taking the same thing and having different interpretations to make it fit the story?
It is a different story given to a different people that I think saying the same thing, yes.
Yes, so someone who is twice as tall, really strong, really big, all this here, in your interpretation from the last thing that we went through was a Nephilim, but in this we're ignoring it and saying he's not, and we're calling him the new Christ.
I think the story of the Nephilim and expressing it that way as size is not size as importance. After all, the Nephilim are downgraded as being lesser things, as being subhuman.
Yes, but they
as
are
being
bigger.
Flawed.
Yes, but you have said that they are taller and bigger than most people. You have said that.
Yes.
Yes. So whenever it's reference to their height and describing them in the Christian one, and exalted this person, whatever it is, they are a Nephilim because of their height. But whenever in the Gilgamesh one, when they're talking about someone who is fantastic and great and all the rest of it and tall, they're not a Nephilim, they're the new Christ. But it's the same basic story, but you're taking a
to
different...
two different societies.
But it's the same story, Richard. This is what you keep saying, is that it's the same story telling the same thing, and when when two different stories tell the same thing, you interpret them differently. They should be interpreted
in context to the story, yeah.
But they should be interpreted the same if they're the same
No,
story.
they shouldn't. They should not be the same. That does not make sense.
Okay, well, when somebody describes in the Christian book about being a big, tall, massive person who was, godlike and all the rest of it, we say Nephilim. But in the Gilgamesh story, when it says someone strong and tall and massive and godlike, we don't.
This is not talking about a messenger or a corruption.
Okay, I'm just trying to, this is just what I'm seeing. Say it as I say it.
It's fine.
So, next one. Did we get down here? Right, next 33 lines are missing in the standard version, and these are taken from the Old Babylonian as well.
But this tablet wasn't broken. It's just like broken half and half of it's missing or something. Because this one's not at an angle. Then he raised his eyes and saw a man. He said to the harlot, Shamhat, have that man go away. Why has he come? I will call out his name. The harlot called out to the man and went over to him and spoke with him. Young man, where are you hurrying? Why this arduous pace? The young man spoke, saying, Enkidu, they have invited me to a wedding, as is the custom of the people. The selection of brides. I have heaped up tasty delights for the wedding on the ceremonial platter, for the king of broad-marted Uruk. Open is the veil of the people for choosing a girl, I see, for Gilgamesh, the king of the broad-marted Uruk. Open is the veil of the people for choosing. He will have intercourse with the destined wife. He first, the husband afterward. This is ordered by the council of Anu. From the serving of his umbilical cord, it has been destined for him. Severing of his umbilical cord, it has been destined for him. I apologize, my eyesight. Yeah, if we could go back a little bit. Every once in a while I misrecognize a word.
It's been a stressful day, as you say, man. We're all relaxed. We're all relaxed here. We're all free.
Unfortunately, the audience suffers more than anyone. I apologize. Okay. So I think this wedding ceremony would be the same as the wedding ceremony. Even inviting people off the street who didn't even belong to the wedding ceremony, talking about the population of the earth accepting the new hero, the Christ, or in this case, Enkidu. And a portion of them, of course, as I said, otherwise accepts the old God, the old heaven, which would be technically the old Christ, because that's who saved them, so thereby they're the bride of Gilgamesh.
Okay, so Gilgamesh is the old Christ, and he's getting married. Enkidu has been invited. Tell it.
Not yet.
Well, the other guy was invited to it. Sorry, he stopped to talk to him.
Tell you, the first thing I noticed is this is not the fisherman who reported him.
No, Enkidu
this guy has money and stuff.
Enkidu has been accepted by the crowd. As it said previously, he was helping guard over the things and help out with the animals.
I think that was predictive, not stating an already fact. That was part of the prediction.
No, that was in the story. That was him being accepted by the people. He was a wild man, then he's now accepted, and now he's got friends and people are talking to him. It's a gradual progression. Why would that bit in the middle be suddenly in the future?
Isn't that his mother briefing Gilgamesh? The mother briefing Gilgamesh that says that. I think it hasn't happened yet. We'll find out.
Yeah. Right.
So we had a little bit of predestination in there with the story of Gilgamesh and taking wife.
Oh yes, that was that was definitely, I will say, a story in the story about something in the future of the story. But what I'm talking about, they did make a reference to Enkidu looking after animals after he was the wild man. He was being accepted.
I mean, I remember that part. You're right. It's there.
Yeah. Right. Go on ahead, and I'll jump in a wee minute after the next one. I'll speak for a wee bit. I'll let you go here.
As the young man's speech, his Enkidu's face flushed with anger. Then several lines are missing. Enkidu walked in front, and Shamhat after him. He walked down the street of Uruk-haven, mighty. He blocked the way through Uruk, the sheepfold. The land of Uruk stood around him. The whole land assembled about him. The populace was thronging around him. The men were clustered about him and kissed his feet as if he were a little baby. Suddenly, a handsome young man, for Ishra, the bed of night, marriage is ready. For Gilgamesh, as for a god, a counterpart is set up. Enkidu blocked the entry to the marital chamber and would not allow Gilgamesh to be brought in. They grappled with each other at the entry to the marital chamber. In the street, they attacked each other, the public square of the land. The doorposts trembled and the walls shook. Very nice.
So he's arrived, met each other, my dick's bigger than your dick, and they're going to have a fight.
Well, not exactly. It's an interesting way to look at it. I think what this is saying is, I think at first glance the people seeing the blocking of the sheep gate of the sheepfold, the blocking of the sheep gate, things like that. That when people first hear the story from the Christ, then they would be in some kind of position where they think it defeats the Bible. And I think this is another story like that it's talking about not defeating tradition, but I think eventually, and maybe even the next part of the story is going to be something akin to, no, it's confirming it. Something like that. But first the fight.
First the fight. Straight to the fight. Ding, ding, ding.
Straight to the fight. Talking about men here.
Speaking of fights and all the rest of it, on Saturday night I'll be moderating a debate on the empathetic atheist between him and Pastor Taylor James, I think it is, on is the belief in the Bible true, or is it relevant to believe the Bible is true, or something like that. We'll be having a wee pre-party here, maybe half hour, maybe 40 minutes before it, get a wee interview with empathetic atheist, and then we'll all jump over there. If you're up for it, should be a bit of fun, should be a bit of crack.
I got $5 on empathetic atheist.
Well, I have no idea who the other guy is, and from what I know, he goes looking for trolls. So, he could be well practiced if he plays with trolls all the time, or he could just be someone who's a troll themselves. I have no idea. It should be fun. It should be fun. Anyway, as I say, I'm modding over there, so that should be a bit of crack. Right, Gilgamesh on his knees.
Gilgamesh bent his knees with his other foot on the ground. That's interesting. His anger abated and he turned his chest away.
That's him bowing down, like that's him, you know.
We're missing the entire fight, aren't we?
No.
Did we skip ahead?
They grappled with each other at
marital
the entry.
chamber, doorpost trembled, wall shook. Where's the fight? Oh, we're missing 103 to 129. There's the fight. It's gone. There's no fight.
These 42 lines are taken from this.
Okay, he turned his chest away. After turned his chest, Enkidu said to Gilgamesh, "Your mother bore you ever unique, the wild cow of the enclosure, Ninsun. Your head is elevated over other men. Enlil has destined you for the kingship over the people.
Now we missed 19 lines. And then they kissed each other and became friends. Yes, fight's over. Fight's built up, made bigger than it is.
Yeah, we had a lot more about an ensuing fight than we ever did about the fight itself. I feel ripped off. His strength is the mightiest in the land. His strength is as mighty as the meteorite of Anu. The mother of Gilgamesh spoke to Gilgamesh, saying, Rimat nun son, said to her son, Rimar nin son, my son. What does that mean? Plaintively, she went up to his gateway. Plaintively, she implored, Enkidu has no father or mother. His shaggy hair no one cuts. He was born in the wilderness. No one raised him. Enkidu was standing there and heard the speech. He and sat down and wept. His eyes filled with tears. His arms felt limp. His strength weakened. They shook each other by the hand, and their hands like... Enkidu made a declaration to Gilgamesh. 32 more lines missing. Okay. What do we have that's new information within that little bit we read there? I don't think anything new is there, do you?
No. No, I was just finding some things in the chat there. Jim Majors wants to know what you think the mother of Gilgamesh is. Did you not say that she was the goddess?
The goddess. The highest goddess.
Right. There you are, Jim.
That is a name for goddess.
A job.
A name.
Yes, when you give these things titles, you give them, it's a job.
Yes. Functions they perform. In order to protect the cedar forest, Enlil assigned Humbaba as a terror to human beings. Humbaba's roar is a flood, his mouth is fire, and his breath is death. He can hear 100 leagues away any rustling in his forest. Who would go down into his forest? Enlil assigned him as a terror to human beings, and whoever goes down into his forest paralysis will strike. Gilgamesh spoke to Enkidu saying, What you say? And missing another 21 lines.
From the standard
Who,
version,
my friend?
taken from
What's
the
that?
Babylonian. They're missing from the standard version, which I assume the standard version is the one that's everywhere. And then there's the old Babylonian.
Yeah, the one we're reading now.
Yes, and then there's the old Babylonian, which is particular to a specific region.
Who, my friend, can ascend to the heavens? Only the gods can dwell forever with Shamash. As for human beings, their days are numbered, and whatever they keep trying to achieve is but wind. Now you are afraid of death. What has become of your bold strength? I will go in front of you, and your mouth can call out, Go on closer, do not be afraid. Should I fall, I will have established my fame. They will say, It was Gilgamesh who locked in battle with Humbaba the Terrible. You were born and raised in the wilderness. A lion leaped up on you. So you have experienced it all. 5 fragmented. I will undertake it and will cut down the cedar. It is I who will establish fame for eternity. Come, my friend. I will go over to the forge and have them cast the weapons in our presence. Holding each other by the hand, they went over to the forge. Standard resumes. The craftsmen sat and discussed with one another. We should fashion the axe. The hatchet should he one talent in weight. Should be. That should be B.
The hatchet
should be 1 talent in weight.
You're probably right. It should be B.
Should be BB.
It should be.
Their
BB.
swords should be 1 talent. Let's scroll back. We've moved really far.
Jim Majors points something out in the chat. Only the gods, so not Enkidu.
Right. Enkidu, not yet God. That's correct. So man on the earth.
He's just a man on the earth. He's not Jesus yet.
Well, we're talking about the enlightenment process, the struggle with God, him becoming himself. Not just a wild animal in the field.
So Enkidu's a wild man in the field. It's now from a wild man in the field to a normal man who eventually will become Jesus, who then will change into God or become part of God.
Yes, that's what I think. So the acts, ideas of refinement, ideas of change.
Showing the acts and the refinement and change is also a show of stature and prominence in the actual culture back then, because being able to do that in that time, it's like walking around with a big giant diamond now. It's like, look, I've got an axe, I can do shit and make this.
Right. Absolutely. What is that? I think it's a Nordic tradition. When you propose marriage, you make your future wife, hopefully future wife, a wooden spoon. And I heard of that and I went, well, gosh, actually that makes sense. To make a wooden spoon from hard wood, you'd have to have a knife, know how to sharpen it. You'd have to understand wood and how to carve it. I mean, actually, it's a pretty good test.
Yes, I can see your reasoning behind that. Okay.
That is, you're resourceful if you can make a wooden spoon.
Yeah, well, that's it. You set out a test for someone, not referencing that in general or that in particular, but you set out someone a test and they do the test, and it's not the actual thing, the test itself, it's the skills that come with it.
Right. It seems to me there was something that maybe we could have touched on at the beginning of this last reading frame.
Who, my friend, can ascend to the heavens? Only the gods can dwell forever. As for the human beings, their days are numbered.
Yeah, that's very reminiscent of chapter 6 of the book of Genesis. What is the deal with cedar?
Look, all I can see here is like, don't be afraid. Gilgamesh was the man who was the big dude, but oh look, Enkidu was raised in the place. He's on the tucket. He's cut down the big tree. Cedars are probably a massive fucking huge tree back in the day. That's all it is. If you've not only got an axe, but you can cut down one of the biggest trees about, then you're not only the biggest, but you're just measuring dicks here. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, but the axe representing refinement of the hero, that he was a meteorite. Now he's even in the vision become an axe, and now they're talking about actually building an axe with which to cut down the cedar. To cut down the cedar in that context, I think would be something akin to overcoming the world or being able to gain resources or
representation
defeat of this mighty thing.
Yes, that's all it is. It's an old cultural reference of a big tree back in the day, nothing to do with aliens or God or anything like that. It's just, what is the biggest thing around in this day? Boom, this tree. We use an axe. That is the representation of us being the coolest. So if we use the coolest thing to cut down the mightiest thing, my dick's bigger than your dick.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry to keep using that reference, but that's just what I see. It's just,
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Although we're studying an ancient tablet, this is not actually meant for children.
Here we go. Jim has made a reference point here. Thank you, Jim, for being in the chat tonight and helping us out a lot. Cedar was used for rafts as they were rot resistant. Travel through the swamps was very necessary or necessity. Yeah, traveling through swamps was a necessity in this context.
Yeah, cedar's a very oily wood. That's true.
The forest Gilgamesh is journeying towards is also known as the Cedar Forest. So, again, accomplishing something massive and big and important. Right. Moving on. Their armor, 1 talent. Their armor. Yeah? Their armor, 1 talent, their armor. Gilgamesh said to the men of Uruk, listen to me, men. 5 lines are missing here. You men of Uruk who know, I want to make myself more mighty and will go on a distant journey. I will face fighting such as I have never known. I will set out on a road I have never travelled. Give me your blessings. I will enter the city gate of Uruk, I will devote myself to the New Year's festival. I will perform the New Year's ceremonies, and the New Year's festival will take place. Celebrations. They will be shouting, hurry, in, blank. Enkidu spoke to the elders. No, we'll just leave that. There you go. That's me. This is him just...
Why does he need the approval of the people?
No, I don't think he needs the approval of the people. I think it's the same as anyone. Look, if you're going to actually do anything, studies have shown that if you go out and tell people, you're more likely to do it. That's a fact.
Well, that's solid psychology. I'm just not sure that's what's going on here.
No, but it's the same thing. He's going out to tell everyone, look what I'm going to do. Yous are going to think I'm fantastic. I have been beaten by this man, but I am now going to go and make myself better, bigger, stronger than I have ever been before, and be the best again.
And I won't back down. Enkidu spoke to the elders. What, the men of Uruk? Say to him that he must nor go to the cedar forest. Now? That should be now go. The journey is not to be made. Must not go. That should be not. Must not go to the cedar forest. The journey is not to be made. A man who, the guardian of the cedar forest, the noble counselors of Uruk arose and delivered their advice to Gilgamesh. You are young, Gilgamesh. Your heart carries you off. You do not know what you are talking about. Gave birth to you. Humbaba's roar is a flood, his mouth is fire, his breath death. He can hear any rustling in his forest 100 leagues away. Who would go down into his forest? Who among even the Igigi gods can confront him? In order to keep the cedar safe, Enlil assigned him as a terror to human beings. Gilgamesh listened to the statement of his noble counselors.
Hold on, let me just...
Backing up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is people not accepting God.
Hold on, right? We're going to read this again.
What?
This is just men not accepting God. That's how you got there. Okay.
Which also why he asked for blessing. He's looking for approval from men.
Well, Gilgamesh, again, in the context of when this was written, this is what people did. They went to the elders of the thing. You know, the leader always had the elders. They were the advisors. And
Sure.
they would go to them and ask for their blessings and check the fucking chicken bones if necessary or whatever. You know, and give their blessings to them. That's what happened.
Well, that kind of historical accuracy would certainly explain why the story is written this way, but it doesn't mean that's what the story means.
No, but it's more probable that it is that than...
Well, if that's the answer to all of this, it should be tossed in the trash.
Why?
Other than its literary value, it certainly wouldn't be prophetic if that's true.
I don't think most people think it is prophetic, though, Richard.
Yes, I understand that.
Right. You were young, Gilgamesh, your heart carries off, you do not know what you were talking about. Something gave birth to you. Right? Probably the gods or something gave birth to you, because that's... The story is the gods helped build him.
Well, it already said his mother's name a couple times there.
Yeah, well, they said the mother's name, but at the very start, there was also the story of him being formed. You know, by the gods and stuff. So the mother gave birth, the gods gave birth, whatever. Who the fuck gave birth to him? It doesn't matter. The person who gave birth to him is mighty. He is mighty. I think that's the point they're trying to put across. Hammurabi's roar is a flood. His mouth is fire's breath. So this guy you're going to go and fight. You don't know. You're going to get your ass kicked. This guy that you're going to go fight can hear rustling in the forest 1,000 leagues away. Nobody would go and defeat this guy. This guy is you're stupid for going and doing this. And who among even the gods can confront him? So again, Gilgamesh is not a god here yet. They are making forward that he's not a god yet. So the old Jesus isn't a god yet. And in order to
sorry, go ahead.
And just to finish it, in order to keep the cedar safe, Enlil, who is a god, assigned this guy who's in charge of the forest as a terror to human beings. Gilgamesh listened to the statement and probably ignored it and went and did it anyway.
Of course he's going to. I think I'm going to correlate Humbaba to Beast of Satan now.
Right. Okay. God of War, Jim is just making a reference to in the chat. So, Beast of Satan, God of War.
God of War. Depends on how you mean God of War.
I
Some
don't
would
think he means
contest
the
that
Xbox game.
Yahweh is a war god.
Yeah,
What's that?
I says I don't think he means the Xbox 360 game.
Oh, I didn't think he may have. Jim is bright and sometimes sarcastic. He may have meant exactly that.
Called it. Yeah, totally talking about the game.
Okay.
Right. So Hamina, whoever the fuck he is, Hambaba.
So I think Humbaba is going to be Beast of Satan. That's why he's the terror. That's why he protects the cedars. That's why the people say he can't be defeated, because with the rise of the Beast of Satan would be people thinking that he's the right answer.
Okay. Gilgamesh is just ignoring everything he's been told, and he's going to go and do it anyways, like a wee fucking perpetual little teenager. Don't go out there.
Right.
Fuck you, mommy. I'm going to do it anyway.
I think he's supposed to. Wouldn't exactly be the same story without that. The elders spoke to Gilgamesh, saying, Gilgamesh, do not put your trust in just your vast strength, but keep a sharp eye out. Make each blow strike in Mark. And that's not the book of Mark, or the Apostle Mark. The one who goes on ahead saves the comrade. The one who knows the route protects his friend. Let Enkidu go ahead of you. He knows the road to the cedar forest. He has seen fighting, has experienced battle. Well, that if Enkidu does lead ahead, and it's true that Christ's enlightenment before the arrival of heaven, then it would make sense to me that Enkidu will lead the way.
Well, Enkidu comes from the wilderness.
Even though Gilgamesh did originally lead the way, it makes sense to me that Enkidu does lead the way.
No, well, Gilgamesh had never left the city. Gilgamesh was the king and all that there. Enkidu has grown up out here. He's probably been to the cedar forest, so that's why they're asking him.
Right. That makes sense in a historical reference.
Yeah, it makes sense because he's been out and about.
In other stories, I don't think we're ever going to see, no matter how many of these stories we read, that God exits heaven to interact on the earth. So
hold on now.
That would make the city heaven. What's that?
Okay, right. Well, if God is now becoming a man, right? These are jobs. So he doesn't become anything. He just hires somebody else. Okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Well, that's the difference between the biblical text and the Christian view of it.
Okay. Enkidu Enkidu's not a god yet, though. You keep saying that. He's not a god yet.
That's correct.
So you can't say that God became somebody and then calling Enkidu that person who God became, because Enkidu ain't a god yet. It's a job. He hasn't worked his way up to that yet.
Which makes Christians wrong.
Which makes me very confused.
And it makes my view better supported.
Okay.
That it's not saying God became man in the way that Christians describe it.
Okay,
it's not
right.
What the text
so as
means.
I said to you earlier, okay, it was Enkidu's description being a man, then being the new Jesus, then after the new Jesus being God, and you agreed with me on that. Right. What I'm seeing from this
now,
he
will become part of God.
He will become part of God. Okay. Right. What you're now saying to me is God becomes man. So it didn't go man, Jesus, God. It went God, man, Jesus, God. It's circular.
I don't understand the point of contention. I don't see the point of contention. I'm sorry. Can you paraphrase it or something?
Enkidu, it's just Enkidu's who Enkidu is keeps changing the order of who Enkidu is. Enkidu was just a man in the first episode, right? And then in the second episode, Enkidu then became the new Jesus because you said you misspoke, right? And then I had to figure out the order, and then it was man, then Jesus, then God. And now you're saying that God becomes man, so it's God before man. So it's
I don't know why you're saying God becomes man. That's a very Christian idea.
I'm just repeating what was said.
Where was it
You
said?
brought up the Christians a couple of times, man. You even mentioned Mark.
Yeah, I was saying they've got it wrong. They're reading the text poorly.
Okay. I'm just saying that.
It's not God becomes man. It's that man happens. God selects one, even predetermined selected one.
Okay. Predetermined selection means
which
he
is
hasn't become
why.
it yet, though.
What's that?
If it's predetermined to happen, it hasn't happened yet.
I agree with that.
Okay, right. Well, we'll agree on that on tablet 3. Jim Major says I nailed it. I think he got me. I don't know if anybody else got me, but I was on a roll there for a minute. Now I've lost it, so we'll move on to page 12.
Well, I don't think it's exactly fair to say that Enkidu just popped up out of the forest into the forest out of nowhere.
No, he was fucked there as scrap left over.
Okay.
Well, he was. It was a bit left over that got thrown into the forest and forgot about. He was the leftover bit. There was.
Yes.
I can see you smiling fucking sarcastically through the bad quality video tonight. Okay, I get you. Right. Enkidu.
Still made by the gods.
Yes, okay. Still made by the gods, but the scrap left over.
That's correct. I think as it should be. Enkidu will protect the friend, will keep the comrade safe. Let his
Can I
body
just
urge
interrupt?
him back.
Sorry. Just as you say that, and I'll forget, right? As it should be. As I said, the waste left over makes the new Jesus. And you said as it should be. But when we did the David Goliath story, right at the very start, you described the first Jesus that left everything as the perfect being, which is what Gilgamesh is being described as. They created somebody
first
better.
Jesus that left ever. Hold on, let me catch up with you. Not too much at a time. The first Jesus that left everything. What is that?
The first Jesus, the first God, whoever it was created. You said that they created somebody better than them, and then he left.
What? Why better?
They created something better than what they were. The human race.
Those weren't our God in any way.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Right at the very, very start.
Right?
You're not getting me. We're going to spend too much time with dead air and both of us thinking about each other. We will move on.
Okay, if I ever gave the impression that I was trying to say, and I can't believe that I would have even tried to give this impression, that the story of Moses talking about the beginning of God,
No.
that would be our God in some way.
I never mentioned Moses. What I'm making a reference point to is the fact that you just said that the new Jesus, as I referenced to, is scrap thrown away. You said as it should be. As in the new Jesus should be made from the leftovers. Right? But earlier before in a different series, you have made reference point that Jesus, the God, the person, the first human race, the whatever, is the perfect, is fantastic, is wonderful. So I don't know how we can go from being wonderful to the new Jesus now being as it should be, left over and waste.
We're limited to 120 years. We're not perfect here on this earth. We die of old age. We get diseases. We have birth defects.
Yes, you're just stating. I'm missing your point. You're just stating things.
That would be equivalent to not perfect. So to say it's the leftover bit, yeah, that's fine. Because Jesus is a man with flaws and stuff, you know? Just a regular dude. Pre-selected regular dude, but, you know, at least for a while, regular dude. I seriously don't see any conflict there.
Okay, sorry. Went down the wrong pipe.
You okay?
No, good. Right. Richard, we will do... How much have we got? Did we just start a page? Yes. Page 11. We will round it up here. Because we're coming up in the hour.
You're kidding me. How'd that happen?
You would not believe that, man. Would you not?
I'm looking at the clock and you're right, but I just don't know how that happened. I enjoy this way too much.
Time is relative, man. Time is always relative. Right, let me see. Remove from stream.
But which relative? Like uncle or grandpa? What kind of relative?
The only thing...
Daughter?
That should work. The only thing that is relative from no matter where the viewer is watching is the speed of light. Everything else can change. A wonderful fact for you there. Well, Richard, I thoroughly enjoyed that tonight. Maybe
Man,
because
that
I
went fast.
disagreed with you an awful lot, but it's always good when
I
we
expect
disagree.
you to.
Exactly. It's more
What
fun
kind of a
when-
show would this be with an echo chamber anyway? I appreciate you.
Maya actually made a comment in the chat earlier on. So it was like, would you listen to these two? They actually do fight like they really are brothers.
We are. By the way, I love Maya Atkinson.
Yes, Maya's doing an awful lot of good work.
She's been an
now as
awesome
well.
person to me anyway.
She actually texted me the other day and was wondering how you were, Richard, because she hadn't seen you in just under a week. And she was like, is Richard okay? I haven't seen him about. So that just goes to show Maya's a nice person and does actually give a shit.
Yes, she does.
So, everybody, we will be back next week. This Sunday, on top of the debate we have on Saturday, this Sunday I have Jenna Belk from Critical Bitches and Atheist Experience and all that there. So, she'll be here on Sunday, 8:15 UK, 3:15 on Eastern Standard Time. Richard, have you anybody coming up on yours?
Yes, I'm trying to schedule people. Everything's tentative right now. I can't say anything solid, but in personal interest and selfishness, I would ask of Maya, are you still in this GDC and where is it and who's running that and what happened? I was really enjoying the conversations there, and then the whole thing just like disappeared off my radar. I don't know what happened there.
Did it die? Did it?
GDC on Discord under the tri logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quit in the Discord because I didn't go into it that much, and I wasn't. I'm not very good at debating that much, like, so I just I didn't go in. But I used to listen to yourself, Richard. Maya would give me a shout out when you're there, but I didn't know that. Suppose now thinking about it, I haven't seen it in my feed.
I'm gonna go find him again. I'm gonna chase him down because I think it still exists. I heard a rumor.
Right. Well, on that note, everybody, thank you very much for coming. We'll be seeing you back and forth, and yeah, always good fun. We'll be back next week with episode 3. Okay, everybody.
Maybe even on time.
On that note, we will oink and out. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Bye bye.